Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You're watching Gravitas. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Let's get started. Tonight, our top story is from the Iran war. For months now, the Trump administration has pursued a two-track Iran strategy: maximum military pressure and continued diplomatic outreach. But with neither working in favor of the United States, does Donald Trump have a plan C in this war? We decode it for you tonight. We're also looking at how Pakistan's poor human rights record is now being called out by the West. The European Parliament has condemned the targeting of religious and ethnic minorities in Pakistan, highlighting cases of abduction and forced conversion of young girls. Details on this up ahead. And after 12 censor board changes, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Vijay's last movie before he became the CM, Jananayagan, has finally cleared the certification hurdle. We get you all about it on the show. For months, the Trump administration has pursued what officials describe as a two-track Iran strategy: maximum military pressure on the one hand and continued diplomatic outreach on the other. The logic has been simple: make the cost of defiance unbearable for Tehran while keeping the door open for negotiations. The White House had believed that military coercion could strengthen America's bargaining position without dragging the United States into another prolonged West Asian war. But clearly, that strategy is now under increasing scrutiny. It is being questioned, even rejected completely. In fact, Trump has said that the U.S. agreed for more Iran talks despite the ceasefire being over, and a Qatari delegation is in Iran at the moment. But despite repeated military strikes, sweeping economic sanctions and back-channel diplomacy, Washington has yet to secure the broader agreement that President Trump has long sought. Instead, the region remained caught in a familiar cycle of escalation, retaliation, and uneasy diplomacy. And that raises an important question. Can coercion create the conditions for compromise, or does it end up making compromise politically impossible? Well, according to senior American officials quoted in multiple media reports, Washington still believes that sustained military pressure combined with diplomatic engagement offers the best chance of compelling Iran back to negotiations while avoiding a full-scale conflict. So that is why you see President Trump threatening harder strikes again and again. In fact, on Thursday this week, here's what he had said.
We just hit them very hard. And I say we hit them 20-1. Every time they hit us, we're going to hit them 20. And we did it last night. They did a little something today, but it was really retribution for last night. They hit actually 3 boats, not 2. And when they hit, we hit back much harder.
But this calculation is now being tested more than ever. You see, the Trump administration's approach rests on 3 pillars. The first one is military deterrence. The second, crippling economic sanctions. And the third is diplomacy, but only if Iran agrees to negotiate from what Washington calls a position of weakness. The White House believes the combination of these changes Tehran's cost-benefit calculation. But here's where the strategy becomes complicated. Military strikes can certainly impose costs. They can degrade capabilities, destroy infrastructure, and demonstrate resolve. What they cannot always do is change political intent. You see, history suggests governments under external military pressure often become more defiant. Case in point, Iran's deepened stance and no regime change after this war. Now, recent military exchanges have reinforced these concerns. President Trump has warned Iran against further attacks on American interests, and he's authorized additional military action after renewed regional tensions. Iran, meanwhile, has vowed to continue resisting what it calls American aggression, while insisting that sanctions relief remains essential for any meaningful negotiations. Now, amid this, diplomatic contacts have not completely stopped. Remember, technical discussions between American and Iranian representatives have continued despite the recent military escalation, a sign that neither side has entirely shut the diplomatic door.
There are many ways we can win, but we've already won militarily. They have very little left, and they want to make a deal so badly. They called a little while ago, they want to make a deal so badly. I just don't know if they're worthy of making a deal. I don't know that they're going to honor the deal. That's the problem. They're sort of crazy. They're a little bit out of control, but they want to make a deal badly.
Now, the paradox of pressure is this. Every military strike is intended to increase leverage, but every strike also increases political pressure on Iranian leaders not to appear weak. This creates what strategic analysts describe as an escalation trap. Neither side necessarily wants a wider war, yet both feel compelled to respond to preserve credibility. Another challenge facing the Trump administration is defining what success actually looks like in this war. Is the objective preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons? Remember, Trump has been saying that US forces got Iran to denuclearize. If that is the case, then why is America still striking Iran? Second, is it forcing Tehran to dismantle its missile program? Remember, since February, when the war began, Trump's version of the objectives of this war have changed multiple times. So if not military and diplomatic pressure, does Donald Trump have a plan C in the Iran war? Some analysts now describe the administration's current approach as an informal plan, not because Washington has abandoned pressure, but because it is attempting to pursue both at the same time while avoiding the political and military costs of a full-scale conflict. In effect, the administration appears to be betting that calibrated military pressure, carefully managed escalation, and on and off diplomacy can eventually produce a better negotiating position. So you'd see Trump posting threats on social media on one day, and the next he would stress on negotiations and then jump to the actual strikes being carried out on selected Iranian targets, and then return to saying that US is in control of the Strait of Hormuz completely.
We hit, it's what we use their language, we speak their language. No, I don't think so. I think anything that happens is going to be over very quickly, and we'll only make it safer, including for oil. Oil is going to be very free, very easy, and it's going to happen very fast. We have the Hormuz Strait, the boats have pulled out. I mean, there's a gusher of oil right now. We have a lot of oil.
Washington believes increasing costs will eventually change Iranian calculations, but remember, Tehran appears equally convinced that surviving pressure will eventually change Washington's calculations. In other words, both governments believe that time is working in their favor. So is the war staring at a strategic limbo, or this is a passing phase? That's the question. While political settlements take years, Washington is still searching for a strategy that can turn the battlefield leverage into lasting diplomatic success. This is a Gravitas special. Philippines wants to keep a constant watch of Beijing's ambitions in the South China Sea that, remember, continues to threaten its territories. Taking cue from various countries and current battlefields across the globe, Manila has now decided to establish a dedicated military space center by 2028 as part of a wider military modernization program. And why is Manila doing this? Well, because from the Russia-Ukraine war to the conflict in West Asia, satellites have emerged as one of the most decisive military assets. They are powering intelligence gathering, battlefield communications, drone operations, and precision strikes. So Philippines naturally wants to build that capability for itself. The proposal for a military space center has reportedly been presented to the country's president, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who, remember, has reportedly directed the Philippines armed forces to develop an indigenous satellite capability. The military says the new center will strengthen communications, command and control support, missile systems and drone operations, and eventually evolve into a dedicated space command. You see, the long-term objective is to create a sovereign satellite network that is capable of providing continuous surveillance across the Philippine archipelago and the disputed South China Sea, including the heavily contested Scarborough Shoal. Military experts say the project could also give commanders a real-time picture of activities across the country's vast maritime domain. Dedicated military satellites would also strengthen secure communications, particularly in remote areas where conventional networks are often unreliable. Analysts also believe that the capability could help lay the foundation for a more integrated kill chain by linking sensors, intelligence, and weapon systems for faster targeting and response during military operations. The initiative will be developed in partnership with the Philippine Space Agency. Officials are reportedly exploring multiple options, including launching indigenous satellites or leveraging international and commercial space systems before expanding domestic capabilities. India is one such country that has partnered with the Philippines on civilian space cooperation, including satellite applications, and helping strengthen Manila's broader space ecosystem. Now, the urgency is driven by tensions with China. Repeated confrontations between Chinese and Philippine vessels in the South China Sea have reportedly underscored the need for persistent surveillance, faster decision-making, and stronger deterrence. While recent global conflicts have demonstrated why space capabilities are no longer optional in the Russia-Ukraine war, satellite imagery and secure communications has transformed battlefield coordination and intelligence. The conflict in West Asia also highlighted how space assets can provide a critical operational edge by supporting command, control, and precision targeting. As military competition increasingly extends beyond Earth's surface, countries are treating space as a strategic domain now. For the Philippines, this planned military space center could perhaps become a key pillar of future defense and national security. From the Ram temple to the Badrinath temple, donation-related irregularities have left devotees in shock. Now, Kerala's Sabrimala temple is in focus, with the High Court seeking details of valuables, including gold offerings. This pertains, remember, to 80 sacks kept in the temple storeroom, which were opened on the 4th of July. They contain not only gold and silver, but also several other materials. The Travancore Devaswam Board, which manages Sabrimala, has been directed to provide all necessary assistance to retired High Court Judge K.T. Sankaran to carry out the appraisal of all valuables in these particular 80 sacks. It has also asked the board to inform it about the procedure proposed to be adopted for the safe custody of the valuable offerings that are received from devotees in future. The court has also called for a periodic appraisal of this and a comprehensive inventory to be maintained in the digital format. Now, Justice Sankaran was appointed, remember, by the High Court in September last year to conduct a thorough appraisal of all items recorded in the temple's register, as well as strong room, in wake of gold theft allegations in Sabrimala. The current controversy centers around idols of Dwarkapalas, or the door gods, that stand just outside the sanctum sanctorum, where the main deity sits. To begin with, 12 gold-cladded copper coverings of these idols and 2 pedums, or platforms, on which they stand were removed for fresh gold plating in 2019. While the rules mandate this kind of repair work will be conducted in the temple premises itself, it was outsourced to a former priest named Unnikrishnan Potti. Suspicion arose when Unnikrishnan sent these items to Chennai-based firm Smart Creations for gold plating more than 1 month after their removal. When the gold-cladded copper plates were returned, an unexplained reduction of 4.5 kilograms was recorded, which clearly implied that gold had been removed. The plot then thickened after gold-plated pedums were recovered from the resident of Unnikrishnan's sister. According to the court, there was a distinct and grave possibility that the original gold coverings were disposed of to someone for a huge sum and that the proceeds were misappropriated by those responsible for the fraud. An SIT, or the Special Investigation Team, was formed thereafter on the court's directives. Unnikrishnan, who is the prime accused in this case, was arrested in October last. While he earlier worked as a priest at the Sabrimala, he later became a businessman and would reportedly arrange visits to the temple for wealthy devotees. Now, he's been out on bail since February this year. So far, a total of 13 people have been arrested in connection with the gold theft. This includes former CPIM MLA Padma Kumar, who also served as the president of the Travancore Devaswam board in the past. He was suspended by CPIM in June this year. The accused people have been booked under several sections, including criminal breach of trust, forgery, and criminal conspiracy. In January this year, India's Federal Agency Enforcement Directorate also registered a case to probe alleged laundering of proceeds from this crime. Investigators are examining the source of funds, the movement of money, and possible concealment of assets. The SIT is yet to submit its final report in the case. Now, why does this matter? Remember, Sabrimala, like many prominent temples, receives a handsome amount of donations from devotees from across the country, which is then used for the temple's operations. Now, as far as India's wealthy temples are concerned, in terms of annual donations, Sabrimala receives close to 83 crore rupees every year. Tirupati Temple in Andhra Pradesh tops the list, receiving close to 1,900 crore rupees annually. The Ram Temple, Siddhi Vinayak and Kashi Vishwanath are also among the temples that receive heavy donations. Now, at a time when temple-related irregularities are rising, Karnataka has taken a big step. Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar has directed officials to install CCTV cameras in all major temples under the state government's control. He stated that CCTV cameras should operate round the clock and cover all areas within the temple, including where donations are collected and counted.
Yes, I review this every single day. I've said that CCTV cameras should be installed. When collecting money, if someone has to bring money and deposit it, if someone has to open it, if someone has to count the money, we should know how much was there and what was collected. I've given guidance to install CCTV and have told the Deputy Commissioner and Superintendent of Police to set up a monitoring system.
We all get gifts, books, jewelry, clothes, watches. But how would you feel if you were gifted a gun? Well, world leaders who attended the NATO summit in Ankara felt rather taken aback when they received a revolver and live ammunition as a return gift by the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Some were forced to leave it behind because their gifts could not go along with the gun laws in their countries. Now, Erdogan's bid to highlight Turkey as a major military power was evident during the summit. Remember, Outside the Turkish presidential palace, where meetings took place, 16 soldiers stood in traditional armor, each representing one of the 16 historic Turkic kingdoms, starting from the Great Hun Empire of 204 BC to the Ottoman Empire, which lasted until the end of World War I. What did Erdogan's gift look like? Well, images shared by the office of Lithuania's president, Gitanas Nausėda, showed a box containing a revolver engraved with the name of the respective leader and 6 bullets. It was a vintage 6-shot revolver manufactured by Turkey's state-owned arms maker MKE. A placard in the box revealed that this was the first revolver-type handgun produced in Turkey. Well, some leaders, such as the UK's Prime Minister, also received a cleaning kit and 500 rounds of ammunition. Erdogan also signed a note exempting these weapons from Turkish export controls. But what was the rationale behind this gift? Well, as per reports, it was a bid to showcase Turkey's defense ministry and industry. According to Geneva-based Small Arms Survey, Turkey was the world's largest exporter of small arms between 2019 and 24, with exports hovering around $3 billion, just behind America and Italy. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney joked that his country's gift of maple syrup to Turkey paled in comparison to Erdogan's gift. He also hinted that the pistol might be given to a museum, as it is not a legal firearm in Canada.
Struck me that my gift of maple syrup kind of undermatched the whatever it was, 357 caliber or whatever. But the next thing that went through my mind was, okay, this is something for the War Museum or the CAF, a CAF museum or something like that, where it's interesting.
On the other hand, Belgium's Prime Minister Bart de Wever came to know about the gun in his luggage only after landing back home. Thereafter, he handed the gun to the Brussels airport police, and now it will be put in a safe. In case of the Prime Ministers of Netherlands and Sweden, their revolvers were taken to their respective embassies in Ankara. While the Dutch embassy will disable the gun, the Swedish embassy is awaiting import paperwork. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is intending to donate her gift to a military museum, whereas the leader of Greece planned to give his to the War Museum in Athens. While firearms, remember, have been gifted during bilateral meetings earlier, this is the first time a customized gun has been gifted to all leaders attending a multilateral summit. In March of 2019, for instance, the then Czech Republic Prime Minister Andrej Babis gifted the US President Donald Trump a 9mm pistol valued at $710 during his visit to America. In 2021, the then Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan had presented the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman with a gold-plated assault rifle. The gift came after the Crown Prince had earlier gifted Imran a gold-plated Kalashnikov and the bullets with it. And this is not all. In March this year, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko gifted a rifle to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Kim reciprocated with a ceremonial sword and a vase featuring Lukashenko's portrait. With that, let's tell you what's coming up on the other side of Gravitas.
To create full of holes.
A new trend is emerging in the United States that carries a significant impact on the global race for innovation and tech power. Scientists and researchers working in the US are increasingly moving to China. We tell you all the details. And of course, this is what we've told you. World leaders were taken aback when they found that Turkish President Erdogan had gifted them a gun and bullets as a return gift. The world's brightest minds are becoming the newest battleground in the US-China rivalry, and Beijing may be winning one of the most important contests of all times, the race to attract scientists who will shape the technologies of the future. The latest name to make that shift is Nobel Prize-winning chemist Omar Yaghi. He's left the University of California, Berkeley, to join a public research, a university in Beijing, where he will lead a new institute that uses artificial intelligence to accelerate the discovery of advanced materials. Yaghi, whose pioneering research produced materials capable of storing gases and even harvesting water from desert air, is not an isolated case. His move reflects a broader trend as top researchers increasingly look beyond the United States. Now, this shift comes as the Trump administration cut research funding, tightened oversight of universities, which, remember, is allegedly leading to greater uncertainty for many scientists. On the contrary, China is reportedly investing billions in research, expanding world-class laboratories, and offering generous funding to attract leading global talent. In August last year, in fact, Chinese officials rolled out a new K visa designed to attract young scientists and innovators from overseas. Reports say that at least 85 researchers have already left American institutions since 2024 to take up full-time positions in China. The consequences extend far beyond academia. Experts say the scientists changing laboratories today could determine which country leads tomorrow in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, semiconductors, and next-generation defense tech. Experts warn that the exodus of scientists and researchers from America is not a temporary trend. Rather, it is expected to further accelerate. Right, shifting our focus now from Balochistan to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir's forces have brutally targeted dissidents. Now, the country's human rights record has been heavily criticized by the European Parliament. WION's Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, explained the key features of this resolution that has been passed by the European Parliament. Backed by major political groups, including the European People's Party and Renew Europe, the resolution condemned the forced conversion and marriage of a 13-year-old Christian girl named Maria Shehbaz from Lahore. While her family claimed that she was kidnapped, forced to convert to Islam and marry her abductor, Pakistan's Federal Constitutional Court upheld her conversion and marriage in March. The European Parliament described the ruling as emblematic of broader failures to protect vulnerable girls from minority communities. As per the UN Human Rights Office, 80% of these incidents occurred in the Sindh province, while 75% of the victims were Hindu. The remaining were Christians. Girls in the age group of 14 to 18 were targeted in particular. The resolution also observed that poverty and marginalization heightens the risk for girls and women. The EU Parliament also flagged other human rights violations in Pakistan, including arbitrary detention and harassment of journalists and civil society members, as well as misuse of blasphemy and anti-terrorism laws. This was a reference to the conviction of Baloch activists such as Dr. Mehrang Baloch. She was, remember, sentenced to life imprisonment in a case involving the death of a paramilitary personnel in Gwadar in July 2024. Dr. Baloch is the organizer of a human rights group named Baloch Yagjeti Committee. She's been at the forefront of exposing Pakistan's oppression against the Baloch community. The human rights activist has also regularly flagged forced disappearances of people in Balochistan. In the recent years, she's gained international acclaim and was also nominated for the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize. Islamabad's disdain and brutality towards ethnic groups has also been witnessed in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Thousands of supporters of civil society group Joint Awami Action Committee, or the JAAC, have been on a sit-in protest at Rawala Court's Eidgah ground since the 9th of June. The protests were originally ignited by a ban on JAAC, which put forth 38 demands, including the abolition of 12 seats in the so-called Legislative Assembly, which are dominated by Pakistanis. However, Munir's forces have responded with brute force, firing bullets and tear gas at innocent protesters. The JAC has now declared that it would stage a long march towards Muzaffarabad on the 15th of July if its demands are not fulfilled by the 14th. Crucially, the EU Parliament has warned Pakistan that its failure to effectively implement its human rights commitments could result in the withdrawal of Pakistan's trade benefits. Remember, at present, Pakistan enjoys the generalized scheme of preferences plus status, which grants it preferential access to the European Union markets. It remains one of the largest beneficiaries of this program, with its exports to the EU valued in billions of euros. Moving on, deep beneath the crushing waves, the Earth has been hiding a multi-billion-dollar secret. A stunning discovery by Japanese researchers could change what we know about hidden treasure beneath the seabed. Here's why this so-called invisible gold has excited scientists and reignited the global battle over deep sea resources.
The world's next gold rush may not begin on land. It may begin in complete darkness. Below the Pacific Ocean, where sunlight never reaches, where crushing pressure shapes the planet itself. Scientists have uncovered something extraordinary. Not glittering nuggets, something far more elusive, gold that is practically invisible. Researchers from Japan have discovered record-breaking concentrations of microscopic gold trapped inside sulfide minerals beneath the ocean floor. The discovery changes an old assumption. Scientists believed invisible gold existed mainly in deposits on land. Now they have found exceptionally rich concentrations forming beneath the seabed, inside hydrothermal systems created by volcanic activity. These underwater vents constantly release mineral-rich fluids. Over thousands of years, they build massive sulfide deposits loaded with copper, zinc, silver, and now, astonishing amounts of other minerals. Now the implications in discovery of gold is enormous. If scientists understand how this invisible gold forms, they could identify entirely new mineral provinces buried beneath the oceans. It could transform future exploration for critical minerals at a time when countries are racing to secure strategic resources.
There is increasing demand for these critical minerals, for nickel, cobalt, copper, manganese, for metals that are needed for electric vehicle batteries and really all sorts of batteries as we transition to a decarbonized economy. One of the best sources of these minerals will come from the ocean.
But every discovery fuels another debate. Environmental scientists warn that deep-sea mining could damage ecosystems that have evolved over millions of years and remain barely understood. Sediment plumes, habitat destruction, and biodiversity loss remain major concerns. That is why negotiations continue over global rules governing commercial mining in international waters. The oceans may hold enormous untapped mineral wealth, but the race to recover it is becoming as much an environmental challenge as a technological one.
Well, let's talk about Europe and the weather there. As far as wildfires are concerned, remember, Europe's climate alarm is getting louder. A deadly wildfire has ripped through southern Spain, while one of France's most iconic rivers is shrinking. Spain's wildfires have claimed 12 lives, with 23 people still unaccounted for as emergency teams battle the flames. Across the border, the Loire has turned into a vast sandbank, exposing the scale of Europe's relentless heat. Take a look.
First came the heat. Then the land began to surrender. Forests turned into fuel. rivers retreated. The landscape itself started changing shape. Southern Europe is once again confronting the reality of a climate pushed to extremes, where soaring temperatures are no longer isolated events but part of a wider pattern. Spain is at the center of that crisis. A deadly wildfire continues to burn through the province of Almería, forcing residents to flee as firefighters struggle to contain fast-moving flames driven by intense heat, dry vegetation and shifting winds.
My granddaughter was crying. It was terrible. I almost cried because I had already lived it, and it's a terrible experience, especially because there are elderly people who have a hard time leaving their homes.
Authorities have launched an investigation into what triggered the blaze, which is one of Spain's worst wildfire disasters in recent years. Thousands of hectares have already been scorched.
It appears it may have originated from a power line, and initially, with firefighters responding as it was a verge fire, it ended up spreading very quickly, with very, very strong winds, and all of this at an extraordinary speed.
The crisis does not end at Spain's borders. In France, the Loire, the country's longest river, has dramatically receded during an intense spell of heat. Large stretches that normally carry flowing water have been reduced to expose sandbanks, creating scenes more commonly associated with drought-stricken deserts than Western Europe. Experts say prolonged high temperatures, reduced rainfall, and increased evaporation have combined to push water levels sharply lower. The shrinking river is disrupting ecosystems, affecting navigation and raising fresh concerns over water security. Scientists have repeatedly warned that climate change is making extreme weather more frequent and more intense across Europe.
Moving on now, the 1,000-year-old Bayeux Tapestry has arrived in London under one of the tightest security operations ever mounted for a cultural artifact. The 68-meter-long embroidery was chaperoned from northern France to the British Museum under police protection. It arrived late at night after crossing the English Channel and being driven into the loading bay of the British Museum. The Bayeux Tapestry was lowered out of the lorry in front of a select crowd, including the French ambassador to the UK and the director of the museum. Officials had earlier kept the exact date secret to avoid security risks. Britain's special envoy for the transfer, Peter Ricketts, said that conservators had folded it like a curtain into a climate-controlled, vibration-resistant container to protect the fragile embroidery.
Well, it has to be taken out of its container with minute care. It has to be laid out flat on a table, which will be the exhibition table, in a kind of choreography with, I think, 80 different conservators. Intensely careful, difficult work.
The 11th century masterpiece depicts the Battle of Hastings in 1066, depicting 58 scenes of the Norman conquest of England. It will be the first time that the tapestry has ever been displayed in the United Kingdom. Now, this transfer follows more than a year of negotiations after the French President Emmanuel Macron agreed to loan the tapestry to Britain for 9 months.
Our aim, all our work, is to ensure that the tapestry goes back to France, and it will go back to France, I promise, safe and sound. Of course, if there is damage, yes, the British taxpayer is on the hook to pay damages. But that just shows how serious we are about ensuring that it goes back in good condition.
The exhibition opens on the 10th of September and runs until 11th of July 2027. With public interest already intense, the British Museum sold a record 100,000 tickets on the first day of sales. Australia has added another record holder to its extraordinary wildlife. Scientists have identified what is now believed to be the fastest spider ever recorded that can outrun almost anything of its size. Our next story is about the new speed champion of the spider world. Take a look.
is often associated with cheetahs, falcons, or racing cars. Evolution has spent millions of years perfecting predators that strike before their prey can even register the danger. In the dense undergrowth and residential corners of Australia, a familiar resident has just revealed a hidden capability that changes everything we knew about arachnid physics. This isn't about venom or size, it is about raw, unfiltered acceleration. This spider lives close to the ground. It has 8 legs, and it can disappear before the human eye has fully registered its movement. The brown huntsman has officially claimed the crown as nature's newest speed demon. Clocked at blistering speeds of up to 359 meters per second, this arachnid moves faster relative to its body size than almost any land animal. Unlike most spiders that rely on silk webs to snare their dinner, the huntsman stalks and runs down its targets. It possesses a unique wheeling mechanism and uses a hydraulic fluid system in its legs to explode forward in a flash. The numbers become even more astonishing when scaled to body size. So how fast is this brown huntsman? A human covering the same relative distance would need to sprint several kilometers almost instantly. Even a rat, famous for its quick bursts of speed, would struggle to match the spider's extraordinary body length advantage. Spiders are among Earth's oldest hunters, with ancestors dating back more than 300 million years, long before dinosaurs appeared. More than 52,000 spider species have been identified worldwide, yet only a small fraction pose any serious threat to humans. Most play a vital role by controlling insect populations and maintaining ecological balance. For scientists, this discovery is more than a curiosity. It is another reminder that nature still holds extraordinary records waiting to be uncovered.
A massive online controversy has erupted over Uttar Pradesh Governor Anandiben Patel's remarks at the 41st convocation of the Chhatrapati Shahuji Maharaj University, where she advised women to become an expert mother first before aspiring to be an IAS officer or a teacher. Now, what's worth remembering is that her statement came at an event where more than 1 lakh students received their degrees, with women securing nearly 82% of the medals. Many have expressed their outrage over the statement, calling it deeply misogynistic. Listen in to what she had said.
उनको कम से कम परिवार में जो खाना बनता है वो तो उसका आना ही चाहिए। चाहे आप अध्यापक बनो, चाहे आप आईएएस ऑफिसर बनो, कोई भी बनो, एक एक्सपर्ट मां बनो पहले तो वो जरूरी है।
Now, the statement has triggered a debate on women's career choices, education and empowerment. Social media users slammed the oppressive patriarchal mindset and reminded Governor Patel of women's freedom of choice. They also said that Anandiben Patel herself is a career politician and a working woman who should have refrained from making such comments. Now, the governor, who's also the chancellor of state universities, said that professional success should not come at the cost of family responsibilities. In fact, she linked rising incidents of domestic violence and crimes against women with declining moral values, stressing that education should go beyond academic excellence. The governor made these comments while addressing students, parents and faculty at the ceremony. She urged young women to contribute to the well-being of their families and societies, just as they continue their education and careers after marriage. She also went on to say that parents should know what their children are doing after they enter educational institutions. Even a small lapse in supervision can adversely affect their future. Now, earlier, speaking at the convocation ceremony of APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University on Tuesday this week, Governor Anandiben Patel had said that sometimes boys and girls elope, then a few end up becoming pregnant and no one accepts the child, so the government becomes the child's parents.
कभी कभी लड़के लड़कियां भाग जाती है ना, और कोई प्रेग्नेंट होकर पकड़ा जाता है, कोई बच्चा को पैदा कर देता है, बाद में पकड़ा जाता है। न मैके स्वीकार नहीं करता है न ससुराल, तो इसका माँ बाप कौन? सरकार। आप सबके ये पराक्रम है।
Well, keeping with updates from India, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister C. Joseph Vijay's long-delayed film Jananayagan has finally cleared a major hurdle. After a 7-month certification battle and 12 modifications, the Central Board of Film Certification has granted the film an A certificate. The clearance, remember, comes after several political references, visuals and dialogues were either asked to be removed or altered. The certificate was issued by the CBFC's Bengaluru Regional Office on the 9th of July. Among the biggest changes, references to Thalapathy Vijay's political party, the TVK, were removed from both the audio and the visuals. The board also ordered the deletion of a shot showing the Indian national flag falling to the ground and removed visuals featuring a district collector's office badge. Several abusive words were muted as well, while terms such as Om, New India, Bhagavatam and Ranganathar were altered or they were silenced. A disturbing scene showing a child being burnt was deleted as well. Directed by H. Vinod, Jananayagan was originally scheduled to be released on the 9th of January ahead of Pongal this year, just months before Thalapathy Vijay's maiden electoral contest. The film was submitted to the CBFC in December last year, but it remained caught in a prolonged certification process. After implementing the examining committee's suggestions, the makers resubmitted the film and were reportedly told that it could receive a UA certificate. However, the process hit another roadblock after an internal objection claimed certain portions of the film could hurt public sentiment. The producers were then advised to approach the revising committee. The film's production company later moved the Madras High Court, seeking a faster certification process. The matter eventually reached the Supreme Court of India before the producers withdrew their petition and opted to go before the revising committee instead. And this controversy, remember, intensified in April this year after a high-definition copy of the uncertified film leaked online. During Madras High Court proceedings, prosecutors said that the pirated version had been viewed nearly 1.2 crore times before it was blocked. Now, with certification finally in place, the film appears set for release. While the makers are yet to make an official announcement, the Canadian distributor has hinted at 24th of July as the theatrical release date. The film, remember, stars Pooja Hegde, Bobby Deol and Mamita Baichu as well. In other news, cricket diplomacy was on full display in Melbourne during Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Australia. A number of sporting announcements were made, but the most significant being the fact that the Big Bash opener will be held in Chennai this year. Prime Minister Modi visited one of the most iconic venues in world cricket, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that Australia's franchisee cricket league, the Big Bash, will kick off in India for the first time.
Today I announced that Australia will bring the Big Bash League to India for the first time. The season opener for this summer's Big Bash between the Melbourne Renegades and the Perth Scorchers will be played in Chennai on Saturday the 12th of December. And it will kick off a week-long G'day Namaste festival of Australian sport, culture and business engagement.
Now remember, this comes at a time when the premier Australian T20 League is facing severe losses. Cricket Australia reported a net deficit of 11.3 million Australian dollars for 2024-25 season. And this is despite the lucrative Border-Gavaskar Test series against India. India, as we all know, is the biggest cricket audience on earth, and Cricket Australia wants to attract Indian investors ahead of privatisation. CA is midway through opening up BBL franchisees to private ownership and existing IPL owners, and Indian investors are seen as the most likely buyers. Bringing the BBL to India will also help the tournament compete with other franchisee leagues like the SA20, which has, remember, been reducing the BBL's commercial competitiveness. The two prime ministers were also accompanied by Victoria Premier Jacinta Allen, former ODI World Cup winning Australia men's captain Steve Waugh, and the former Australia women's captain Lisa Steleka. A roadmap to strengthen bilateral cooperation in sports was established. It identifies areas of collaboration as both countries prepare for a decade of major international sporting events. These include the 2030 Commonwealth Games in Ahmedabad and the 2032 Brisbane Olympics. It also supports India's ambition to host a future edition of the Olympic and Paralympic Games.
आज प्रधानमंत्री अल्बेनीजी के साथ इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया स्पोर्ट्स कोलैबोरेशन रोड मैप लॉन्च करना मेरे लिए बहुत ही खुशी की बात है। इसके तहत हम क्रिकेट के साथ अन्य खेलों में भी सहयोग मजबूत करेंगे। स्पोर्ट्स ट्रेनिंग, स्पोर्ट्स साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ मिलकर के हम आगे बढ़ेंगे।
Well, the mind games have begun before England's quarter-final clash against Norway. Erling Haaland has declared that all the pressure ahead of the match is on the three Lions.
Is all the pressure on England, do you think? Because
yes,
they
definitely.
are seen as favourites. Can you take advantage of that?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that was Haaland putting the onus on England in his trademark mischievous fashion. Haaland, remember, has enjoyed a sensational tournament this time, scoring 7 times in 4 games, including twice in the last 16 win over Brazil. Norway are flying in their first appearance on the World Cup stage since 1998. Haaland has plenty of links to England. He plays his club football for Manchester City and was born in Leeds in the UK, as his father was playing in the Premier League at the time.
It's a special game, yeah, definitely. I think for me it's super special because I play in England and I'm born in England, and yeah, you also play against teammates and everything, so it's a bit, it's not weird, but it's, I don't know the name in English. It's a funny game and it's going to be nice.
One of the highlights of this World Cup has been Norway fans and their Viking row. Even the royal family of Norway has joined in, and the country is reveling in the glory of this World Cup run. Remember, it's not just the two sets of fans. The prime ministers of both countries are also engaging in banter right ahead of the quarter-final clash. UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr met during the NATO summit in Ankara recently. England's players have faced Haaland plenty of times earlier, and they know exactly what he's capable of. Haaland will be Norway's main attacking threat, but the rest of the squad, including captain Martin Odegaard, is also a handful. Norway have Haaland, England have got Harry Kane, their captain and man for the big occasion. Kane has also enjoyed a superb World Cup so far, and he scored 6 goals, just 1 behind Haaland. Kane and Haaland are undoubtedly the two best outright strikers in the world, and although they're very different in the way they go about their game, the match on Saturday will go a long way in determining their legacy.
Yeah, Harry Kane, he's a world-class player, such a good person as well, and yeah, he motivates us on the pitch, off the pitch. He drives the standards, sets the tone, and yeah, it's amazing to have him in the team.
Well, may the best team win on Saturday. Of course, the entire world will be watching this match. On that note, we're wrapping up this edition of Gravitas. Have a good weekend ahead. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week, creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION, World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Vielleicht nur als